So I'm off to the council meeting to declare the North Shore an independent city-state. In that, we are launching a citizens-initiated referendum to realise the potential of a city-state that leads the world dedicated to sustainable transition, a really innovative world-leading model of sustainable economic transition that we so desperately need. So wish me luck. So my name is Mary Felix. I have an agency specialising in sustainable transition and strategy around the future of our livable cities. I also lead a political party new to the North Shore, the Logic Party, with a vision for the North Shore to lead a new and sustainable economic model that the world could benchmark. As part of that, I fundamentally oppose the private sale of public space. That is, I support the change of use, conditional on retaining public ownership, and with clear limits on the mixed-use plans where at least 60% is kept for open space use. Related to this hearing, within my agency I represent Indigenous leaders of the Amazon rainforest to the United Nations and the International Criminal Court, where they also have the right to consultation with industrialists who are attempting to contaminate and destroy their land. While the consultation process is guaranteed, there is no legal requirement to oblige the people's opposition. The developments always go ahead as planned. It's a moot exercise to go through the motions. It's always disingenuous. So you'll forgive me for taking a cynical position today, as I expect the consultation process here may be much the same. I also wonder, Madam Chair, is it you, Sharon and Ross, who all voted to sell our land in 2016?
We're not here to answer questions, answer actual questions.
Okay, so I would propose that if it indeed was you who voted to sell our land, then there is a conflict of interest here in your judgment, and if this was a court of law, which I accept it's not, I would move that you recuse yourself from presiding over the proceedings to hear the opponent's view. While 57% of the respondents have opposed the current change of use parameters, you make it clear in your reports that we the people have no substantive rights over the land. There is no clear legal position in the council's right to sell the property or the proposal as it currently stands, so that legal opinion should really be tabled for the people. But as our rates were used to buy the land, you're obliged to listen to our concerns, but with no obligation to act in accordance with our preference. Clearly, the Auckland Development Committee, which I understand you were on, comprised of councillors who have already unanimously decided to sell off Anzac Ave for private development, looks to be 22 of 23 people with no clear loyalty to the North Shore or the people here, but prefer the multi-million-dollar revenues due from a quick fire sale of our assets. This land heist, for which I can describe it in no other way, presented as unlocking our potential, will benefit the Central Council budget. It will indulge the profits of a few private developers and is unlikely to return as revenues or real benefit to the residents of Takapuna. And if you do take a site visit and you walk along the streets of Takapuna right now, you'll notice a lot of shops going out of business or already gone. So we actually need the benefit of our spaces and our money. One easily conceives of a plan to optimise the value of that space through development while maintaining public ownership of the space. And with America's Cup potentially heading off to Italy in 2021 instead of us retaining it, we should consider all developments relevant to our need to retain our hosting of America's Cup in 2021, to which the current conversation doesn't even consider. Basically, one thing I want to say, although we're not talking about how we would develop it, is that the latest technologies to stack car parks underground could literally have car parks underlying all of our roads currently, and we need about 5,000 new car parks in Takapuna immediately. My concern about the current change of use is that if you change it from the use of a car park, you are disposing of our rights as a car park. Therefore, on that point, I fundamentally oppose the change of use. Any change of use must protect the right to have car parks in that space. I could go on, protecting the ground level for the markets, perhaps even weekday markets, new council-owned sustainable apartments, council-built to boost the economy and the population. We could even financially leverage the land to afford our own development without selling it to private developers. In fact, this is another subject, but the North Shore could issue its own digital public credit, interest-free and debt-free, to afford the developments, the car parks and everything else without risk of inflation. That's another story, but I'd be happy to bring some of the world's leading economists in to talk about how that is achievable now. I hate to see a deficiency in our economic intellect selling off our future. I want to address my fundamental legal concern about your proposal. POPs, the acronym for privately owned public spaces, are increasingly dangerous, and while appearing to be of public use, new private owners have regulatory powers to prohibit, impede, or enforce the conduct of private citizens. Private property owners can expel people at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. These spaces can be regulated by trespass laws and policed by private security forces. The consequence of their potential control over us eating our lunch on a privately owned faux public park bench intensely affects our personal psyche. Owners can stop us from picnicking, photographing, and importantly, stop us from protesting, none of which are illegal under current laws, and thus selling off our public spaces, the government can by proxy initiate anti-democratic laws. This violates our civil rights under the Bill of Rights and the Human Rights Act. In fact, in my profile, it violates 4 of one and 5 of another. Too much detail to go into today, but this is unlawful, this sale. Thus, we have the right and the responsibility to legally oppose your development plans should you attempt to move them forward. Legal proceedings could be brought to protect the civil rights and liberties of the local population and to request a court declaration to render any development contract illegal. So I want to talk about our power to change this should you make the wrong decision. Current legislation that governs Auckland City Council's super city renders us powerless as a local population. We can't propose, consult or amend a bylaw. We have no autonomy or power currently. We gave it away. However, in 2012, the Local Government Act was amended to allow communities to initiate alternative local government arrangements, which technically allows succession from the Auckland Council conglomerate and the abandonment of their CCOs like Panuku, which coddle public interest and preference for profit.
Can you start to wind it up now, because you're trying quite a way away from the proposal, isn't it?
Yep, 2 more paragraphs. However, Rodney has tried for 3 years to make Local Government Commission recognise their right to succession, which has been deliberately obstructed. Now a new bill in Parliament will eliminate this internationally supported legal right to self-determination. So in conclusion, I'm advancing a citizens-initiated referendum for the North Shore to become an independent city-state to optimise the economic benefit possible for this elevated international relevance, intelligence, technology, innovation and preventative justice. We can lead the world to change. This process takes between 2 to 3 years to achieve a final vote for the North Shore to become an international city at the heart of New Zealand, as I believe is necessary to protect our public land. This is the future.
So you don't want to take questions?
I'm happy to take questions.
My question is, in one part you said you support change. You support change of use condition on public ownership, but then you said you oppose change to keep us car parking. So I'm very unclear about what you really want.
Well, I made that clear. If the change of use, as the current plan stands, deletes the car parking on that space, then I unconditionally oppose it. But if the change of use retains that use as car parks included in the change, then it would be fine.
So to be clear, change of use to mixed use would allow car parking.
Except the current proposal that you've published, that we're discussing today, does not have any car parking left on that space.
Yeah, so no, we're not discussing the proposal. The proposal is to change the use.
The document that we've answered suggests that all car parking will be removed from that space, and I'm saying it cannot be. We can use underground stacking technology to put car parking right through.
I'm clear about
that
what
needs
is
to be
clear of your
maintained.
answer now. So you support it if it's kept in public ownership and car park is retained.
And at least 60% of the space is retained for public use.
Thank you very much.
Open air.
Right, Peter Cadmus.
Okay, so I had the council submission where I announced the citizens initiated referendum for the North Shore to become an independent city-state and separate from the Auckland super city conglomerate, which is effectively fire-sailing off all of our assets with no concern for our public quality of life, but just totally concerned about how many multi-million dollars they can get into their kitty to reallocate or pay their wages or respend, which is just based on false economics, let's remember. It's based on their deficient understanding of the fact that we can, as a council, issue our own currency the moment we decide to, as long as the public accept it for exchange. So it was really, really interesting to do that. Definitely, there's a lot of agreement with succession, and now the key is to communicate the vision for the North Shore to be the epicentre of the world's sustainable change, modelling how existing cities can completely transition to new technologies which completely eliminate the need for large fossil fuel industries that provoke these resource wars around the world, unsettle our global security and contaminate our environment repeatedly, endlessly really, given the thousands of new developments in sight. North Shore is one of the most beautiful places in the world. It really is spectacular. Coming home and living here again, and I've lived here twice and lived in Devonport once, and it's just the most amazing place in the world to live, connected with nature, peaceful, and still a vibrant city. But the vibrancy is lacking because the economy is not working, because we are being starved of enough money supply to invest in all the public needs to make our economy work, because we're fundamentally misunderstanding how the economy works. So, part of the North Shore new currency or dual currency with NZD, enabling the full needs to be met of public expenditure on infrastructure and social investment and quality future sustainable living cities where we definitely protect our public space. Now, I believe because the council are fire sailing off all of our public spaces, saying it's superfluous to need, when it's the spaces that completely, sit at the heart of our community and connection. Because they're doing that, I think there's a real atmosphere here that want to gain independence and want to protect their assets and be governed by local people, vote in local people to govern us, people who know our city, know our people, know our culture, know our areas and want the best for us, and don't have that opposing benefit of, do we want millions of dollars in the bank, or do we want a space protected, which is the obvious space for the Takapuna City Square, and for a city that is going to lead the world one day in the future of sustainable economic transition, that is environmentally and economically, monetarily transitioning so that our populations are balanced. We have high government spending and low to next to nothing tax. We need that town centre. We need our vibrant public spaces where all the people from all the new apartments can come and enjoy themselves. This is really important. So that was my submission. I felt that the chair was obstructive to most people who were speaking against the change of use, which was unfortunate. So, and definitely obstructive against me when I proposed formally the cessation from the super city conglomerate. And I would like to propose that Rodney join us in this. They also want to secede. And together, then we will have a inner city wealth hub, and we will have the beachfront lifestyles combined with agriculture up there, up north, which is a phenomenal mix for a complete balance of sustainable balance, including energy provision and agriculture and everything else. Countryside, city, I love it. So, that's it. The move begins towards the North Shore being put to the vote to be an independent city-state as an international city at the heart of New Zealand. It's, for me, a dream plan to inspire sustainable transition for the world. So, hope you support. Cheers. So I just wanted to mention that the next decision for this is happening October 16th.